Welcome to your 10-Minute Manager Toolkit. Today, I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about who people used to be and how who they used to be affects who they think they are now. And sometimes we have to deal with that difference. The difference between who people used to be and they think they still are that and who they probably are now. It's a bit abstract, but let's go. In these podcasts, I really want to keep it practical and useful and not esoteric and not abstract and really stick to some solid, useful advice, not get too deep and philosophical. Today, I'm going to stray away from that a little bit because this is quite a big idea. It's quite an abstract idea, but it's quite relevant to your area. What I'm talking about today is, when do you stop being who you used to be? I'll give you an example. Let's talk sports. So, at time of recording, it's cricket season. There's cricket going on in the background. Frankie Mackay is talking to Mark Richardson about being an opening batter. Mark Richardson hasn't been a cricket player in 20 years. And I'm not saying that he's no longer able to answer that question, but when do you cease to be able to speak to that? And when does that start to wear out? If you haven't picked up the tool of your trade in 20 years, if you haven't walked in those shoes for 20 years, when can you cease to talk about that as a thing that you know how to do? To give you a medical situation, and this isn't coming from me, it's coming from someone that I know who is in a management position within a procedure environment. They said to me they need to stay on the tools. They've got to be continuing to do those procedures, even though they are taking on these management responsibilities, because they have seen so many people step away from them for a year, a couple of years, and even though they had been doing this for 20 years, going back after 1 or 2 years off the tool, so to speak, is very difficult. They lose confidence, they lose certainty, and they have to relearn that, and that's a very hard thing for them to do. Now, let's talk about why this is important. Let's talk about the real relevance of this, because you will be dealing with this all the time. Where we see this the most in medical fields is people who used to be at the real coalface, the people who used to do the night shifts, who used to do the ER work, the people who used to be at the absolute battlefront of medicine. And they did it and they survived it, and it's a badge of honor, and it's a sense of personal pride and identity at their resilience and their dedication and their gutsiness, that they did this hard work and they have been there, done that, and they have earned their stripes. They've earned their medals. 10 years in an operating room doing emergency medicine, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years of shift work. They are capable and competent, but they were, and that's who they used to be. And the question is, how long does that shadow fall? There is no answer for how long, but there is certainly a point. Someone who used to do something 20 years ago, that's very much in the past. It's not who they are now. So let's get to the relevance. This shadow affects people's sense of who they are. It affects their sense of what they deserve, what's owed to them, and it affects their plan B. So let's talk this through. when you have this perception of people who have done the hard work, that they've been there, they've done that, they've been at the cold face, they've gone through the difficult times, that really builds up a sense of ego. It builds up a sense of worth. It builds up your dignity. And that's not wrong. I know that I can handle tough stuff. I've been there, I've done that. I'm competent, I'm capable. That character building stuff. Those people are building character as they go through adversity. And it is important that we know that we are capable of dealing with adversity. It can get a little bit complicated because we could deal with adversity back then, but are we that same person anymore? People in their 20s can do night shifts, but it's so much harder when you're 50. Could you see yourself doing nights, coming on, going off? Yes, you could do it back then, but could you do it now? Secondly, we get the sense of entitlement. Well, this is owed to me. And this where life gets a little bit complicated. You will see this all the time in various fields of medicine. People who feel that they've done the hard work, they've eaten their mains, they now deserve dessert. So this is complex in many ways. One, you're probably not the person with whom they eat that. The nurse who did 20 years in this field and now is looking for and feeling a sense of deserving of a cruisy time, well, they didn't do that hard work with you. You don't owe them that. But that sense of, well, I've done the hard graft, I now deserve a semi-retirement, that's a dangerous and difficult space to be. But that sense of entitlement and that sense of owing can be really deep set. The third area that I want to talk about is the concept of plan B. I have a plan B. I could always go back to that. I've done that before. I'd just go back and do that. I could go back into the hospital system, but could they? They could do that 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Can they go back to nights? Can they go to 12-hour shifts? Can they go back to that hard graft that they did before? There's a reason that they left at the peak of their fitness, didn't do that work. They chose to leave. They are not where they were on their last day. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but this is what we're talking about. This question of the difference between who people think they are and who they used to be. This is a mindset that you might see not all the time, but some of the time in the healthcare system. Within the public systems, it's hard work. It's a grind. It's battlefront. You're really in the wars within the public system. Often people leave the public system out into the private system. But the question of who they are is often anchored in who they used to be. This isn't going to be every staff member that you get. This isn't going to be every person who's come out of the public system. This will only be a few people here and there. But whenever we are talking about difficult employment situations, often a significant contributing factor is someone who has unrealistic expectations of who they are and what they are worth. Not wrong to ask, they're just perhaps incorrect in their expectations. We are often finding ourselves having to work against perceptions of then versus realities of now. I'd like to think you got. I'd like to think you got it really early and you just got a little bit tired of me labouring the point. Hopefully that's the situation. Hopefully you're not scratching your head going, I don't get it yet, he still seems to be repeating himself. My apologies if it didn't quite get there. My apologies if I overloaded it. Anyway, thank you for listening. Have a look at our website, pragmatichrm.nz, to see how we could help you with your ongoing management, your ongoing upskill. Alternatively, give us a thumbs up, give us a review, give us a like, give us a comment on your podcast platform, just so other people can see us in the algorithm. If not a problem. I'll catch you next time.